What's going on, workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
And this guy just got a house.
So 73 hours
73
of sign
hours.
clicking. The 73rd hour.
Mm-hmm.
It was only 2 hours into this particular plot, and I was clicking alone. So
it's there's like this sense of this like excitement and joy that I have like for you having achieved this goal, especially like typically on Mondays when I take over stream. If you guys aren't aware, I've been taking over stream on Monday starting at 2. We kind of film this live, then we jump in. But there's always been the follow-up. Hey, did Chris get a house? Did Chris get a house? And so that's what I want to sit down and talk with Chris today. I think we're just going to film one video because then I'm going to go into my live playthrough of 555. I have not done that yet. I've been completely pure. So if you guys are watching live with us, you can stick around and hopefully react with me. Or, if nothing else, don't spoil it for me. Who knows if there'll be tears or there'll be screams. We'll have to wait and see. Anyhow, before we dive into the kind of the core of this video, though, guys, if you guys hit that like button, subscribe button, share button, I think we're going to soon get the clip button here on YouTube as well. So if there's anything that stands out of our videos, be sure to be clipping those things and kind of sharing those things out. I'd love to see what you guys find the most interesting about our videos. And if necessary, if you guys want to support, you can always go over to Twitch. And if you got Amazon Prime for free, you can drop us a Prime sub. But if you don't want to give it to us, give it to somebody. Give that Bezos money away if you got Amazon Prime to somebody here on the platform. Or you can always hit that join button for just $1 a month over on YouTube. We do appreciate the direct support. All right, since we didn't have a shout out.
I've been enjoying Night Sky's Prince lately. I've been listening to him just
he's
fan
phenomenal.
out about Final Fantasy content. So
he's phenomenal. He
go
was
drop
talking
it
about
there.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
don't know where to drop it. Go drop it there.
Go drop it on Night Sky. That'd be amazing. He's awesome. We got to get him back on the podcast and get some more podcasts scheduled for you guys.
Okay.
But let's talk about housing.
Intro complete.
Intro has been completed at the 2-minute mark. Chris, 73 hours. You were homeless. You set out on this goal. You clicked the sign off stream and you clicked the sign on stream. Talk to me about today. I want to know, like, how does it feel? Does it feel like you've actually completed something monumental? How does this compare to your Savage clears? Having actually just recently also cleared Savage as well. What do you think?
If they have to delete the system to fix it, I'm still fine with that.
Yeah,
they can take all of this progress and toss it in the trash. I feel very mixed. I'm excited that I got one, and it's opened up this whole new world of like unlocking all these different housing cosmetics that got me back into looking what airships and submersibles are again, which is kind of something that our free company got, and we built a few, and then it was like, okay, I don't really know what the point of this is. And there's, it's like fancy ventures, but now I want stuff from it, that's how you acquire it. And those items have a second comma if you want to buy them yourself. So it's worth being like, okay, well, if you're looking for something to do till 6.0, I don't hate the way my house looks now. Maybe I like slowly grind towards that. And that's like a housing relic.
Yeah.
And I just push towards that housing relic. There's this whole other system, and you can buy your way to the end with, $1 million, 2 million gil, but it's also just a good thing that you just kind of check in on every once in a while. We spend these like free company credits. I went ahead and bought like a chunk of the tanks, the fuel for them for 5,000 free company credits,
which we have plenty of.
We have 11 million. So I got some room before I have to worry about blowing a community resource. It doesn't matter. None of our stuff was deployed because we've had people over the years that have been involved in taking advantage of those systems and have helped build those ships. And a lot of those people aren't playing right now. So I knew from the get-go that there was a pretty good chance that they were just sitting idle because we don't really engage with it, just like we don't use our garden plot.
We occasionally touch on the garden, like
occasionally.
Clink, he's a mod on our Discord, and he's just awesome dude. Love playing with him. We had drinks with him out at FanFest, but it's often empty. I helped him grow some onions the other day, and so that was nice.
Often empty.
Yeah, it is often
over a 7-year span. It has spent more days empty than being tended. Which
I know for those who are still homeless and that are watching this video, it's like, I'm so sorry that we're not taking to the full advantage of the thing that we've had that you don't have yet. Anyway, so I
planted my 8 onions.
Yeah.
I spent the stream decorating the outside. I got about half of the maximum items on the inside. I've maxed out my outside. Inside's a little trolly. Outside I really enjoy. And it's a fun little rabbit hole to dive down. While I feel relief that that's now complete, and I actually kind of wonder what to do with Mondays, I've got a couple of ideas. It opens up this like immense time sink that I've been doing every week.
Yeah.
I'm still incredibly frustrated at the number of people that are locked out of this content.
Yeah.
I'm still incredibly frustrated at the amount of resources that are put into things that the vast majority of the player population never get to interact with. Even if you have access to a free company house, odds are you don't have unlimited access to decorate it. And if you do, not that many other people in your free company do, or that's chaos.
Right.
And so it's really a huge mixed set of mixed feelings where like now that I'm on the other side, I don't necessarily feel any better. I'm excited for myself, but that doesn't really fix the core problem. Even if they multiply the number of wards by 10 next time around, it doesn't matter. They've talked about possibly making changes to the housing system with 6.1 to maybe look at making it a little more fair, try to curb the botting, the RMT, whatever. But it's been limited sentences. We don't really know what that means. It's just like, hey, we're looking at possibly doing a thing. What thing? Can't tell you.
Right.
Are you going to do it? We don't
Maybe.
know. That is not a statement. Like in the future, Brian, I may or may not do something that affects you. Okay.
Right.
Like I can't act on that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what they mean. It's nice to know that they're thinking about it, but that's literally all that tells us. And no matter what they change, it's going to leave people out in the dark. It will absolutely leave people out. I don't see any way that somebody doesn't get hurt by any version of this system with it being a limited quantity. Right. It just can never make anybody happy. And even if they make island sanctuaries literally your own personal housing district, and you can have 25 large houses, and you get 2 for free and 1 for logging in on a Tuesday, and and then some are gill sinks and some are for Savage Raiders, and everybody can dive in and it's all wonderful. There will still be people who are like, yeah, but I want a house that other people can see. There will still be somebody on the outside of this. It's never going to go away.
Yeah.
So like I feel weird today because I was in the middle of explaining. We were talking about somebody was coming back. I think Phil was coming back to play Paladin. And so I was just saying like, hey, here's kind of some things to pay attention to as you get back into Paladin. And I was just clicking while talking about Paladin. And I actually didn't even notice I got the house. So I was still clicking. I was still clicking the sign.
That's what I would have bet. That my bet was that it's going to happen, and Chris is either like you're going to panic, and you're like, wait, what was the option? And then or it's like, yeah, you're like, hey, dude, you actually bought the house. You didn't see the gill like just siphon out of your account.
73 hours in, like that moment was no more special than any of the other moments. I don't know. It's crazy to see that the housing system is that broken. That this was the best way of getting a house. This was the healthiest way I could get a house. It's absolutely wild to me that our best way to get a house is to just set aside time out of your week to click on it for a silly number of hours and plan on repeating that every week into perpetuity. Like that's not a plan.
That's not like there's no guide. Guys, all right, so here's what you got to do. You got to request off of work. You got to go, like the only guide is like, because people keep asking you, how do you find what houses are available? And it's the houses that don't have a name tied to it. So you go look at the wards, you're like, oh, this doesn't have a name on it. Let's go see if it's for sale. And we can purchase it. And that's essentially kind of how you ended up. You're not even worried about the location. You're just what's available.
I got a great location though.
Yeah, you did?
Yeah.
What kind of house did you get? Small, medium, large?
Small.
Okay.
Small. You're not going to get a medium or large as your first one. You're always going to, those are always going to go to transfers. So yeah, I got a small one right out of the gate. I'll put the clip over on Work to Game TV over on our Clips channel. So we'll go clip that. I'll see if I can clip all the way back to when it got bought, and we can see just how long it took me to pay attention.
Yeah.
So you'll hear the second half of me reading some tool tips for Paladin. Who knows? Maybe I went through the whole rotation and I'd had a house the whole time. So
I'm looking forward to it. I see chat going off right now. Like, where's the clip? Where's the clip?
We'll go put that on the Clips channel, and it's been a journey. Everybody's come by. They've dropped some silly gifts. They've dropped some nice gifts. We've got some trees. We've got a little garden plot. Somebody gave me a Lalafell. Yeah, I can own a Lalafell. I guess I got a little Lalafell material vendor in there, and it's a nice little journey.
pay
it's
them
a
well, or do
cosmetic
you
journey.
actually
Initially,
own?
you could probably spend another 10 million decorating this thing.
Is this an
You very
employee?
easily
Is
could,
this an
but it's
employee,
finite.
or do you own a sentient being in this game?
Yeah. You own a Lala.
Oh God! All right, let's back away from that getting canceled. Yeah,
You
he
get
owns
to
a
choose
potato. He owns a
Yeah,
potato.
I own a potato. It's I don't know. It's surreal, and it feels weird, and it's not an okay system. There's nothing okay about this.
Right.
Like, just to make this very clear, winning it doesn't make the process okay. Something working out doesn't make it a good idea.
It's good that you actually have a house to say that, because typically when we're like, yeah, we need the system to change, people are like, I already got my house. Don't change it. I could, it's like I put so much effort
You're just
into
saying that
it.
because you can't get one. I got one.
It's like he got one. He has a house. So we've
could
talked
delete the
about it,
whole
like
thing.
as what I would love to see, like in the ideal world. But I want to transition more of the conversation rather than the pie in the sky, kind of thoughts, to like what could be used to improve this core system right now. What's practical within that? Because I think I've seen Reddit say just throw more servers at it and things like that. So I want to get to that, but I want to say, like, from what I would love to see, because I felt like one of the things I've been enjoying about playing is actually idling in the cities where there's more people running around, as opposed to feeling like disconnected to just sitting at my house where there's nobody at in these neighborhoods. Because originally, I guess the envision was that there'd be people moving in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
I'd like to
we
see
were all gonna
housing.
use it.
I'd like to see housing moved in the actual game, where you actually see people run around, and like it's New World. I think a couple other games do the same thing, where it's like the houses, you buy the house, 1 million people could own that house, but it's instanced to the person who owns it, and then
Sure.
there's a competition. So, but I don't see that happening without a massive overhaul to the system. And honestly, at the end of the day, like maybe that's just more low priority, or the system just doesn't support it. So, pivoting off of what I've wanted to see in this game with housing, how do we fix, or how should they kind of handle this? You're clicking on a sign, you logged in 75 hours, you now have a benefit. You now have the ability of a transfer house to give yourself an added foot up. So when
Which is what I want. I
Right.
want to be a neighbor to our free company house. That was
Right.
the goal the whole time. And so this is a great plot. And so I'm not going to leave this plot for any plot that's not a neighbor.
Right.
But
In
as
the
soon-
exact
as
same
soon as there's
ward.
the exact same ward,
Yeah.
I want to see our free company house. If they cannot see each other, sometimes one can see one, like the rooftop,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one has trouble seeing it. So like if they cannot see each other, I'll stay where I am. It's a great plot. I've got great access to a market board, and I can teleport straight to it, and it's got an Aetherite just in case, and it's got beautiful views, no complaints. Went and explored my neighbors. There's some cool houses there. I think that, first of all, improving the apartment system feels like a worthwhile investment, because the number of apartments per server is substantial. And so giving apartments access to maybe like an instanced greenhouse or something like that mimics a garden plot if they can't do balconies, giving them access to kind of a free company room inside of, or creating an in-house housing item that allows for you to take up part of your apartment room and put a little, even if it can only grow like one crop at a time, as opposed to like my big 8-part, just due to space. They said they really didn't build the infrastructure to build bigger apartments, so that would be a pretty drastic overhaul. So at that point, they should consider all sorts of things.
Right.
So giving them access to an instanced greenhouse would be really nice, like a community garden type feel, which is what many apartments do for people that like to garden. They have a community garden in some apartment complexes. A lot of that could be handled by Island Sanctuary, so you could just pull it from the apartments altogether and just give it to every single player. You do have to wonder, with the most valuable item that that comes to mind, the item that everybody wants from gardens is Thavnarian onions, and next expansion we're going to Thavnare, and so I wonder if they just call them onions. And so like at that point, are those some vendor item for
you want Italian food?
2000 hunt?
We're in Italy. It's just called food.
Little whatever, the little hunt things. Like is that no big deal? If so, then Thavnarian onions kind of fall by the wayside. Island Sanctuary is the low-hanging fruit as far as how to fix housing.
Yeah.
Rather than go back and rebuild something that is a full built infrastructure where you have to maintain what's there while building something new, and you don't want wards of type A and type B, you want one type of ward and all of that. Island Sanctuary is typically, in this game, when they fix something, they don't go back and fix it. Typically it's like, hey, squadrons don't do what we want them to do, here's trusts.
Right.
Like we just add something over the top. So I think Island Sanctuary is the chance to kind of just say, hey, we're not adding any more housing wards ever. We're going to move into this sanctuary system where we can support it and everybody can be involved, and then just leave housing behind. The housing items would still apply to both, but just let that system die. No more airship or submarine added support. Just leave it where it is and move everything into Island Sanctuary is, I think, the kindest way to say, okay, we built something for what we thought the game would become. And just like how Guild Wars 1 gave way to Guild Wars 2, Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, World of Warcraft Vanilla became a drastically different thing to what retail is today. Final Fantasy, even if you only count from 2.0, is not the game that it was.
Mm-hmm.
The community has changed. What we want from the game has changed. The type of content, the delivery schedule, the game has changed, and the community with it. It's why ARR feels so jarring as a new player experience, is because we're not in ARR anymore. We're in Shadowbringers, and we play the game like we're in Shadowbringers. We play differently.
Right.
And so I think the original envision of housing, with the very few exceptions of specific wards, well, I know this one ward that is not a community neighborhood. The vast majority of housing districts that I ever go to, I'm the only person in them.
Yeah.
And there are rare exceptions, but it is clear that we are not headed closer to that vision. We are headed further. So let's just embrace that. Just call it what it is. That's okay. You don't have to live with a bad decision for the rest of your life. You can say, I made a decision on the best information I had at the time, and I feel differently now. Thank God I don't have to live out every promise or every plan of every version of myself I ever wanted to be. You know, at 18 years old, I had a plan, and there are some things that I said for a fact I was going to do. It didn't play out that way, and that's okay. You can just pivot and say, you know what, things are different now. I feel differently. The world is different. I didn't have all the information. I became different. I have different priorities. And I think the game goes through that same journey.
Yeah.
And what they want from it might be better reflected in a whole new system that can really be, it's a blank canvas. We know so little about Island Sanctuary.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that people coming out of FanFest are like, we really kind of want to see more about what the system is. And so honestly, until that said time, just like, let's just temper that our expectations and hopefully allow them to deliver something wonderful that we were going to be excited about. Beyond that tempering though, it'll be interesting to see what kind of impact the Oceanic servers have on housing overall, because essentially is that going to draw back a lot of Aussie guests, Oceanic guests from these areas, while adding new servers, which already then would have the housing support by that time of Ishgard as well. So there could be a sense that if you guys are just kind of feeling like defeated as a part of the housing, there might be a time in which that kind of we see housing and things open up as servers get turned on, as as this kind of the next year kind of goes. Now, if they don't do anything about the system itself, which they say they're trying to figure, like they're working their way through to see what they can do to make it better. But beyond that, like, I could see if they don't, there'll be a brief lapse and, hey, we were able to finally get housing for enough people because we added more servers, because we added new servers just for housing alone. And then that kind of dips back into as more people come and play the game itself. So it tends to be a roller coaster. So note that it might be hard now. Chris put in an absurd amount of time that not everybody has the ability to do so. And thus, we do appreciate y'all hanging out with stream on him, allowing him to tell stories, because I think that helped to kind of alleviate the burden. Otherwise, he'd be, I think, pretty angry. I would have ventured to bet if it took me 75 hours of clicking a sign, I don't think I'd be very happy at the end of that, even though there is that sense of, I did it.
It could be done faster than I did it.
Yeah.
The way it's done faster is don't stop. Every day I stop when it's no longer fun. When stream ends, I don't really keep going. I've come and checked back in before. I've maybe done an hour if I had like some TV I wanted to watch, but like I limit the amount I can do per day. And if you want to have the best chances, you don't stop until the house sells. You stay there for the full time.
Yeah.
Because that's me effectively tossing, that's me folding the hand. That's me taking that house and just giving it up. Because when I log in the next morning, it's always gone. All but I think one time. And so you've got to be willing to venture into the world of unhealthy if you want to do it more optimally.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of That's not something I was willing to do. It's hard. The system could be improved. Would a lottery make it more fair? It would make it more fair to people who feel that they don't want to put in the time, but they do want a house. But to people who feel that they put in the time and that they do want a house, they would feel less fair, because right now they're in a small group. And if you're not willing to put in the work, they feel more entitled to a house. So you toss them out. Okay, well, let's not do a lottery. Let's do an auction system. Let's let the price better reflect the demand. Well, to new players, that's not really fair, because you have established players that are willing to put down 200-300 million for the right plot, or more. Okay, well, we don't want it to reflect money. And so, like, no matter what system you do, Ishgard, we rebuilt the city of Ishgard this expansion. Let's give access to people who rebuild Ishgard. Well, I would have partaken if I'd known that was how that was going to be. There is always going to be, there is no change you could make to the system
where somebody doesn't lose.
Anybody whose status gets worse will feel worse. Anybody whose status feels better might feel a little bit like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. And so that's just a natural. Yeah. We all chose what our favorite, best way of playing this game is. And so, of course, if they reward that way, we're like, well, of course. Of course. Yeah, I mean, of course.
Of course.
That's why I play that way. It's great. And so it's something that I'm glad I have one, because I think when Brian and I talk about it, it's easy to empathize with people. I have a buddy that went to medical school, and that's a lot of school, and that's a lot of student loan debt. And if I had never gone to college, it's easy for me to go, well, I know what having debt feels like, and I know what having a lot of debt feels like, and I remember what high school was like, but he's not really going to take me seriously. But maybe if I get, a master's degree and I take out student loans to do it, I have a little more of a semblance of where he's coming from. And so when we talk about housing, Brian and I know what it's like to grind for something in a game. Brian and I know what it's like to want something and the game decide that you're not going to get it. But not specifically with housing. And so housing is such a unique thing that there are people that when we talk about housing feel like Brian and Chris should really shut up until they're willing to get a house. And while they may or may not be polite about it, I don't totally disagree with them, but there was nothing I could do about it. Like, I didn't have 73 hours. And there was no guarantee that 73 is all it would take.
Right.
Like, I expected to still be doing this in 6.1. That was in my head, is like, okay, I might be doing this through January. Am I okay with that? Yeah. So I was okay doing that for another 7 months. We were just going to do that every Monday. It's why I don't know what I'm doing next Monday. I've thrown out a couple ideas. All throughout stream, I'm like, we're doing this next Monday. But that's like 10 different things. I have no idea what's happening.
Right, exactly.
Because this is a huge void that's created. Because I honestly had set aside Mondays into forever to get this done. And a huge advantage to that is that, like, as Brian and I try to broaden how much of the community we can relate to, how much of the community that we understand, when a Q&A comes out, when an interview comes out, and we hear people complain, I want, sometimes between Brian and I, we can be really at odds. And actually, that's really good for representing different viewpoints. Sometimes Brian and I look at an issue and we both go, yep. And that doesn't actually represent the whole community. There are people that are put out by that.
Yeah.
And so I am glad that one of us can better understand housing, so that when they make a change to the housing system, I can pretty much assure you that whatever they say is changing, I'll hear them out. They're like, so we're thinking about deleting housing.
Okay.
Go on.
All right.
Like finish your thought.
And
I don't know if I'll like it, but
right.
I'm willing to listen.
Yeah.
And I think that having one of us with a house and then having our free company house better helps us come across as not being jerks to somebody who maybe doesn't know. And they just immediately assume, well, these guys don't have a house, so they don't care about my house.
That or here are these two guys that have taken housing away from me. It's like, all right.
Yep.
To each their own. Guys, thank you so much for the support. I want to say Ghosty, thanks for giving us the Prime sub. We had a couple other subs. Wargiver with the Tier 1 sub for 4 months. Welcome to all the new followers as well. If I miss any subs, Amir, thank you very much for those Prime subs. Really help us out a lot, and thank you. Again, spend that Bezos money on somebody here. Like we said, also Night Sky Prince, also fantastic content creator. He's been very excited about 14, also very excited about 16. So lots to come up. E3 is just around the corner, and now I think it's... I know, and now-ish, I think that's the day. I don't know why I know that it's the date, and at the same time, I don't feel confident in it. Like, oh, it turns out it's whatever. We'll be sure to cover that stuff for you guys live.
Presentations are pre-recorded.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, 100%. I think that's after what we saw with so many of the different events, like even the last Square Enix event, I thought it was great. Like it was well paced. You end up having the ability for them to really present the information. And as we were wrapping up, Mojo with the Prime sub, thank you so much. Christy, any final thoughts before we wrap up today's video?
No, you're about to play 555 for the first time. You're going to do it live on stream. You're a week late, so everybody can hang out and catch that. It's a good test. Your life has been too crazy to catch up right now, and it's a good test because with Endwalker, my plan is to have my alt count up and skip story on my main and do it on my alt at a slower pace that can be more spoiler sensitive, so that my core streams aren't spoilery. Outside of maybe you'll see trial bosses and stuff, but a lot of people don't care about that. Some do, and in which case you're just going to have to stay away from all content for a while.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to talking with you about 55555 and seeing kind of what you feel for kind of the way it ended, the way it's set up, and it's enjoyable. Just remember, there's one more thing after the cutscenes or after
credits. There usually is
credits, but you can skip the credits if you don't want to watch them.
I'm not appreciating the work of these people. No, I'm just kidding.
I enjoyed them. I stayed all the way through, and if for nothing else, sometimes at the end of a good movie, you feel so like emotionally racked by it that you stay through the credits just because like you need to I'm not ready to just walk out that bright exit door back into the world. It's like I need a moment.
Yeah.
So for any of you that haven't enjoyed story, plan on taking a moment.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys hang out. If nothing else, you can always catch it the highlight of it over at Work to Game TV. We appreciate any of you guys who've subscribed over there as well. And finally, before we sign off officially, thanks to Kaylin and Katie for hitting that membership button, joining at the $1 membership level. That really, even though it's I always wanted it so low so that it was accessible to anybody who wanted to go above and beyond. So we thank you guys for watching the videos, for hitting the like button, for subscribing and helping grow the Work to Game community as we've just crossed over 65. It's going up, and it's so exciting to see. So to the moon, to 100K here at Work to Game. So we appreciate you guys. Anyway, that's gonna wrap it up for Work to Game. My name is Brian.
My name's Chris.
Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you have a fantastic day, and hopefully we see you in our next video. But until then,
take care.